3, 2, 1, there I am. What do you think of this background? Yeah, that last video I did, it was just kind of testing things out. It was silly, wasn't it? But hey, gotta have fun sometimes. Yeah, I like this backdrop. Now, with this backdrop, I thought I would talk, since it is so warrior-like, I thought I would talk about the martial arts. I'm going to talk about the martial arts today. Something I haven't really talked about, I don't think. Not in depth. So, if you see anomalies here, you know, like my hand could disappear, part of me will disappear. The science on this thing isn't perfect, but hey, you know, it's better than looking at my room, you know, just a wall and some doors and stuff. We'll try it out and see how it works. Let me know in your comments, the comments section, if this is too distracting or if it's acceptable or you kind of like it or whatever. But anyway, I'm going to start my little discussion about the martial arts because I think everybody should learn a martial art in this day and age. And you're never too old. So let's start off with my background and where I started in the martial arts. So, in school, I had many encounters. I lived in kind of a rough neighborhood. So I had many encounters when I was younger and really didn't know what the fuck I was doing as far as fighting goes. And most of the time, when I think back on the fights I got into in school, it was me against maybe 2 or 3 others. It was never the cowards. See, they never come alone. They come in packs. So you gotta keep that in mind. You might have to deal with more than one opponent. But as far as my formal training, it wasn't till later on in life when I was about 18, I think 17 or 18. And I went to your typical, you know, karate dojo, and it was a pretty good one. It was Kenpo. And I hung out there for maybe, let's say 2 or 3 months. Because I wanted to learn some basic stuff. And that was my first exposure. Okay, and then later on in life, I was going to an Oriental medicine school, and I got exposed to Tai Chi, Yang style, with the Grand Master being Chen Man Ching. I took that class for probably about a year and learned a whole lot because the teacher was very good, and sometimes the master would even come in, which was Abraham Lu, L-U, Abraham Lu. And so I learned that style of Tai Chi and practiced it from that day forward mostly every day in my life. Then I ventured off and decided that that was a nice soft style. Now, when you're talking about Tai Chi, you're talking about a soft style. And by soft, I mean it's graceful and flowing, and it copies the animals, and you got several moves in there that are directly named after the animal, like snake creeps down, and some other moves. Wave hands like clouds is kind of a bird-like motion, and the crane. And so as you go through the Tai Chi form, there's all kinds of different moves with names to those moves, okay? And that's called a kata, or a form. Now, from there, like I said, I wanted to search for something that was more hardcore, okay, more like street fighting. So I'd heard of several different systems, Krav Maga being one of them, which is a Jewish form of hand-to-hand combat, mostly used by the Mossad. I considered that one, and then I just happened to walk by in my little hometown, Pacific Beach, California, where I was living. I happened to walk by and I saw this little kind of hole-in-the-wall place, and it said Kung Fu San Soo. And I went, I think I'll go check this out. So I walked in the front door, and lo and behold, the master was sitting there, who was fairly young, and but he earned his master degree. He came out of the Vietnam War, and he was very, let's say, familiar with hand-to-hand combat, had done so in real life in the war. So he was a vet. And when he came out of Vietnam, he happened upon Jimmy H. Wu, who is the Grand Master for the Kung Fu San Soo, otherwise known as Soi Li Ho Fut Hong in Chinese. And that actually came from the Kuan Yin Monastery, I do believe. Now, these monks that learn these forms pass this stuff down, and sooner or later the triads got a hold of them, the gangs in China. And they even developed a more brutal form. Kung Fu San Soo means free form fighting. Free form fighting. Does that mean you don't learn, katas and different forms and practice them? Well, yes, you do, but the emphasis on the school that I went to wasn't, yeah, you learn the forms, but you did most of the time I was in the dojo. I was fighting free form, okay. I was fighting free form. And they teach you that from the day you walked in the door to this dojo. They teach you free form fighting. They take two people, put them together, and they show them, the master shows what move is going to be practiced that day. And you practice it over and over. And the punches and the kicks are pulled, but not to the body so much. You take a lot of punches, thus I have a lot of injuries. And in this form of fighting that I learned, Kung Fu San Soo, was incorporated all kinds of other techniques, mostly jujitsu. Okay, now when I say jujitsu, don't mistake that for judo. Jiu-jitsu is a hardcore combat form, okay, that was mostly used during the Chinese and Japanese wars, that type of thing. Very brutal. What you would do is use your arms and legs as weapons, and then you would also grasp and put into joint locks and stuff like that, their arm or their wrist, and use that as a weapon or sword against the person whose limb it belonged to. It's very brutal, and I'm glad I went through it. The first belt that you get in Kung Fu San Soo, and I went through all of them, the first belt is a yellow belt. You start off as a white belt, and you work out for a while, and then, the concept was, when you get a white belt and you work and sweat and do all this stuff, the white belt starts turning darker and darker and darker, and that's where you get the concept of the black belt. It got so dirty it's black. And you've been fighting a while. So When you get to the first belt, or the yellow belt, yellow, you have yellow, and then you have green, and then you have brown, and then you have black tip, and then you have black, and then you have all the way on up to degrees of black, and then master. Okay. But the old saying in the dojo was, and we used to laugh about it, when you get your yellow belt, which is, you had to work to get that yellow belt. When you get your yellow belt, you were actually the equivalent to a black belt in all these other spurious forms, the dojos that spring up around towns here and there. A lot of them are kind of just, geared towards kids and that type of thing. Wow, I'm really causing a little light show here. Most of them are geared towards kids, and they go through the belt system too, but it's kind of candy ass, basically. This is the word that comes to my mind here. It's not real. Now, to put the capper on this, the Kung Fu Sansu in the dojo that I was in, and Jerry Peterson was the master there, a direct disciple, again, of Grandmaster Jimmy H. Wu. This Jerry Peterson, who came out of the military and then went into Kung Fu Sansu, at some point along the line, decided that since he lived in San Diego, he decided that he was going to put together a course for the Navy SEALs, because the Navy SEALs were stationed out on Coronado, and it was just probably a 20-minute drive from where we were to Coronado, and that's where they trained on the beach there and stuff, although they came into the dojo as well. He devised a system, and it was called SCARS, SCARS, okay, Special Combat Aggressive Reactionary Systems. And he put in a bid for to teach this as a contractor to the Navy SEALs. And he won the bid, and so that became the fighting course, or the hand-to-hand combat course that every Navy SEAL had to go through. Now, when they came into the dojo, they didn't just want, a lot of the guys didn't just want the basic course. They wanted to learn the whole Kung Fu Sansu system. They wanted to learn everything. So they came in, and those of us who already were up in ranking would take one of them aside and teach them the forms and teach them the moves, the chops to the throat, all that good stuff. The leverages, the sweeps, the punches, all that stuff. And from that moment on, they would be learning Kung Fu Sansu, as well as what they got in the SCARS course. So now, at a certain point, once these guys learned this stuff, they had kind of a kill mindset, which is what you want in any martial art. That's why it's called martial, as in war. You want to be able to take out your enemy in a matter of, let's say, 2 or 3 seconds, if you can do it, okay? That's the goal. And so that's what you call brutal. That's what you call going for the throat, literally. Hint, hint, hint. So I got a chance to work out with those guys for a long time, for the whole time I was there, years. So that was a definite way to sharpen my skills, hone my skills. Although, having said that, I received several injuries, okay, along the way, as you do when you get into any form like this, okay. So after going through that, I could walk down the street when I got to the point, to the pinnacle where I just didn't need it anymore and I left. I could walk down the street with total confidence, total security, feeling totally self-confident for any situation that may arise. Any situation that may arise. I mean, we went through everything. We went through people pulling guns and knives, grabbing you from behind, around the throat. I mean, every possible move that somebody could put on you, we had an answer for, and a quick answer and a brutal answer, ending it quickly. My master said, there is no such thing as self-defense. You are self-offense. In other words, you anticipate when there's a threat or a danger and you move right in real quick. Don't give the person a time to think and step right into their space like six inches away from them. When you go in close like that, you can work all the moves real easily and fluidly. So that's a little bit about that fighting form. And then to broaden my skills after I left there, I figured, well, I might run into something that I don't know about. So I continued on in my journey. A journey that has lasted years and years and years. I don't even want to say it because then it makes me feel old. But from there I went and took a class with an Aikido black belt, an older guy, and he was working his way up to, to being a master. Was almost there, really. So I took a year of Aikido, however you want to say it. And as I was in that class, of course, I wasn't like a beginner. Yes, I was a white belt in that class, but I was way up beyond white belt, believe me. And so I had to humble myself and basically learn all I could from that. And I hung in there for a year. Then I went off into just trying to organize and synthesize and create my own style with everything that I ever knew. And I kind of kiddingly named it Aiki-Sanjutsu, which is my style of fighting. Aiki-Sanjutsu. So that combines Chinese and Japanese verbiage there. Okay, it's kind of a play on words, Aiki-Sanjutsu. So I developed my own style, and then I continued to go on and learn more and more in life. And then the next thing that I ran into, which I practiced on my own. I can't say I really practiced in a dojo or anything, but I have punching bags and all that stuff. So I practiced a system called Sistema, which means the system, Sistema. And that's a Russian martial art used by the special forces over in Russia. Okay. Spetsnaz uses that fighting system. And that's an incredible system because it teaches you different ways to move your punches and with the maximum amount of impact, that type of thing. Now, why am I talking about the martial arts here? Because I think everybody out there should... My grandson is just now starting to get into the martial arts, and I've had talks with him. And so anybody out there, not just young people, but anybody out there should look into doing some kind of martial art. Tai Chi for health, and incidentally, the Tai Chi, the soft form, I don't want to forget this, is deadly as well, because the further you progress, the more you know that you have not just muscle power, but you have what they call chi power or energy power. which you can use. And phenomenal things have been done with that, believe me. Morihei Ueshiba, who was the founder of Aikido, would throw 2 or 3 people halfway across the room, okay, without hardly even touching them, with just chi, directed chi. So where was I here? So anyway, I think that people should get into the martial arts, and there's a very high spiritual aspect to it. The code of Bushido for the Aikido, and that concept, the code of Bushido. And that's something that every martial artist should learn and study and contemplate. Also The Art of War by Sun Tzu. What you want to do is you want to be able to walk down the fucking street and be a lethal weapon. Okay, and I could still take out guys probably half my age right now without a second thought. Because most people don't know this stuff. They don't know this stuff. And I taught this for a while. I used to teach in the park, and I used to teach my own. And I have several students out there that are walking around lethal weapons as well. And women in Kung Fu Sansu, when I first went into the dojo, there were some girls in there, some women, younger girls, you know, not real young. I'm talking probably in their 20s or late 20s, that were taking the Kung Fu Sansu course. You go work out with one of those as a newbie, and you find out real quick that women are sometimes even more deadly than men. I would hate to run into one of these. I would hate for a thug to run into one of these women that I knew in the dojo. They'd be in big, big trouble. So as a kid, or as a young person, or as a woman, you know, seemingly vulnerable, this is something that would be very good in combination with the meditation that I've taught and my raising consciousness techniques. It all goes hand in hand here. Yoga, martial arts, trance drumming, altered realities, and consciousness. All of this stuff goes together. So you should definitely enhance your skills in this area to feel protected in this dangerous world, because if there's ever chaos, the mindset of the people that freak out and panic in some kind of an emergency, the mindset immediately turns into monstrous. Some go the other way. Some go to wanting to help their fellow man. That's where you see the real division. That's when you'll see it. But some, you know, some people that are brutal will be looking at women as targets, and so especially women, you should learn this stuff. That's the first thing that goes down in society is when there's chaos, is when people panic, is any kind of moral compunction. That all disappears. Christians become devils, that type of thing. So anyway, I'm just waxing on and waxing off here. I'm going to leave it there today. Man, I'm kind of looking forward to this video going out there. I'll talk about martial arts, and I'll talk about this again. I might even give you some lessons. I can do that right here. I can impart certain bits of knowledge that might just save your ass someday. I'll leave it there. Namaste.